Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good weekend. I just wanted to quickly talk about basically who are you? So, of course, there's the basic idea that a person is what they do for a living, whether that's an independent business person or an author, an artist, or if that's just like a day job, 9 to 5, engineer, service worker, nurse. And so generally from like the culture I've grown up in, that is how you identify yourself, is as your profession. But if you are to strip away your profession, a lot of these professions nowadays only exist nowadays. They're pretty new, like within the last couple hundred years, or probably less than 500 years for some of these jobs we have now. And so it's hard to necessarily say that you are your profession if your profession is something that is not did not exist from the dawn of time or the dawn of humanity. So if you're not your profession, then are you your personality? Are you your funniness or your silliness or your seriousness? Are you the thing about you that got you into that profession in the first place? If you're a comedian, then are you funny? Is that who you are as a person? And no, of course, there's more nuance to a person than how they behave. And a lot of how people behave is something that they have observed in other people and then kind of taken that behavior and adapted it to their own style. So basically emulating someone else that they see, and they're like, oh, that's really cool. I like the way they do things. I like the way they act. I like the way they treat other people. I like the way they stand up for themselves. And I like the way they do comedy or professionalism or whatever. I have a lot of examples for myself. And so then they sort of become pieces of emulations of those other people. For myself, it was always either characters in books that I gave like perfectionistic qualities in my head, and then tried to emulate them, or someone I saw, like a couple examples would be Keanu Reeves and his personality, and then Brennan Lee Mulligan. Them very different types of people, but both of them are types of people that I sort of feel like I would be happy to be that person. But of course, I don't actually know who they are. I just know who they are as people in front of a screen. So, or people in front of a camera. And that's the only side of them that I see. And so I'm emulating something that I have taken and perceived in my own way. And this thing that I have perceived is a special side of them that they reserve for camera. It's their job to behave this way, in a lot of ways. And while I do think they are genuine people, and that's what I really like about them, it doesn't mean that I can be them. And ironically, by trying to be them, I'm not being a genuine person, and which is opposite to how they are, or how I've perceived them. Now, of course, if we take away someone's profession and someone's personality, I guess, that doesn't necessarily leave us with a whole person. Like, I guess I would say a lot of people really love their jobs and they are very vibrant individuals because of the jobs they get to do, and their personalities, if they're lucky, closely match the jobs and careers that they have gotten into. And so in a lot of ways, in these cases, their jobs and their professions are an extension of them, and taking that away from them would not leave them whole. For example, I have always loved writing, and so while I am not a writer per se, like, writing is not what makes me a human. It's still, without writing, I would not be as happy, as creative, as enjoying of life as I am. So there are aspects of me that are part of my personality that I really enjoy, but it doesn't mean that I am a writer just because that's something that I love to do. So if you're not your profession and you're not your personality, and we've stripped those two away, then what's left? What do we have left over underneath personality? I guess we have, I don't know. This is something. When I thought about this for myself, I tried to strip away my personality, and I came up with that deep down, I am kind of a grumpy old man. And this is sort of a personification of an idea or a trope where, when you say grumpy old man, there's a particular thing that comes to mind. And for me, that's kind of my deep down foundation was grumpy old man. So, but I am not a grumpy old man. I wasn't born a grumpy old man. And, okay, so part of the problem with these questions and part of the fascination with these questions is that there isn't really an answer. There isn't really a good answer to these things. And it's fun because it means we can keep searching and keep asking questions. But it's also a little tough because, I'm sure there is more informative and deep dive perspectives out there in books and videos than what I'm presenting to you today. But it also, ultimately, I think we can say with some confidence that there's no real way to know who we are truly. There's Immanuel Kant, Carl Jung, who talks about the shadow self and how you have this kind of dark side of you, and you're not really meant to overcome it because you can never defeat it because you are it, but you are meant to accept the dark parts of you, and then you will become a whole person. And while I think that's true, I struggle immensely with accepting those dark parts of myself. And so for me, I can't say how this thing is accomplished. I spent some years meditating, actually no, it's not unfair. I spent maybe 2 years meditating, And I went pretty deep into myself, and I found a lot of fear. And I still have a lot of that fear, but what I've found out over the last few years is that it's not necessarily that I need to get rid of my fear, but that I need to enjoy my life knowing that that fear is always going to be there. And I just need to kind of accept the fear and move on. And so in that case, knowing who I am, knowing that I'm full of fear, wasn't necessarily helpful, I think, because the conclusion in the end was to simply accept the fear and move on anyways. So why did I need to know about the fear in the first place? And so these are some questions that I'm still working through, and I might always be working through. Although I doubt it, there's usually a point when you just kind of accept something fully and move on. That's what I've found. Especially getting older, there's certain things where you eventually come to the conclusion that like it's probably not a big deal. And that's fine. It's probably better that way. So yeah, if you are struggling with, trying to figure out what to do for a career, or who, what kind of partner you want to be with, do you want kids and a conservative lifestyle or a traditional lifestyle? Do you want an alternative lifestyle, maybe with no kids? Do you want to travel the world? Or do you feel like you should stay home? Who are you and who do other people think you are? And if that's kind of what you're going through right now, then, and I would encourage you to have a midlife crisis as early as possible in your life, so that when you get to your midlife, you're already good to go. You already kind of have had that crisis, and you are who you want to be, or you at least know what you care about and the things that you want to put time and effort into. So yeah, if you are struggling with trying to figure out who you are and what you want to do and where you want to go, and trying to figure out if what other people think you are is who you actually are, or, are you who you think you are? Are you emulating other people? And if you have time and space to think about these things, I would encourage you to just go on a long drive or a long walk by yourself and talk to yourself, or think out loud or whatever, and really process this stuff. And so I hope this was helpful for someone, and I hope everyone has a good night. Goodbye.